All right, well, we're holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17. Again, welcome everyone. Holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17. We are in verse 8. Finally finished verse 7. All right, it took a while to get through verse 7, but we're now holding by verse 8. We spoke last number of weeks about demons, right? And how demons are similar to man, how demons are similar to angels, different things about spiritual forces, right? Spoke quite a bit about that. So the Torah continues, again, Book of Leviticus chapter 17, verse 8. Torah says, Valeim Taimar, Ish Ish Mi Beis Yisrael, Min Ager, Asher Yagor B'Tzoichem, Asher Yale Oile Oizava. So here the Torah says, and to them you shall say, any man in the house of Israel, and the Ger, and of the proselytes who shall dwell among you, will offer an offering, a burnt offering, or a sacrifice of a peace offering. Now, one thing here, even before we see Rashi, the Torah says, Ish Ish Mi Beis Yisrael, says every man from the Jewish people, right? Literally from the house of Israel. Now, normally, if it says Ish Ish, right? Why does it tell me twice? Right? Man. Right? Here we're talking about again. Translate over any man. Right? It says Ish Ish. What would I think? Who's coming to exclude? Most likely. Women. Right? Probably coming to exclude women. Right? It could say Mi Beis Yisrael, from the house of Israel. Masculine. Or feminine. It could say Mi Beis Yisrael, B'nai Yisrael. Right? Or really it would say B'nai Yisrael. So actually not the same thing. B'nai Yisrael, a lot of times the sons literally of Israel. So it could mean the sons, not the daughters, right? Coming to exclude women. So forget what I said before. But then it says, Min Ager Asher Yagor B'Soichel. Then it says convert, right? Now, anytime you see the word ger, right? You see the word ger in the Torah. Ger can mean one of two things. Ger could mean a ger could mean a convert. Could potentially mean a convert. Proselyte, as we translate it over here. Or a ger can mean a geratosha. Now, who's a geratosha? Geratosha is a non-Jew, lives amongst the Jewish people. And because they live amongst the Jewish people, there is a mitzvah for the Jewish people to sustain them, to help them. They keep the Noahide laws. They go against idolatry, right, and all that. So anytime you see the word ger, right, in the Torah, you got to see what the context. Is it talking about a convert? Or is it talking about a ger tosha, right? A non-Jew who lives amongst the Jewish people. Now, big difference, right? Be a big difference, a lot of ramifications, right? A lot of ramifications over here. The difference between telling me it's a convert, telling me that it is a, what do you call it? Telling me that it is a ger tosha, right? You know, a non-Jew. Now, even if we're going to say, it's convert, right? Then you're going to ask another question. What's the other question? Because the Torah says any man of the house of Israel. So if you're going to say any man of the house of Israel, forget about whether we're going to exclude women or not or whatever, but any man of the house of Israel, what does that mean? A Jew, right? It's a reference to a Jew. So if it's a reference to a Jew, isn't a convert a Jew? Convert's a Jew, right? You have to see. I have to see if the commentary say anything over here or not. Right, but there are things, keep in mind, there are things that a convert, may be considered a full-fledged Jew, right? According to the strict letter of the law, there are limitations. There are some, limitations. A woman can't marry a Kohen, right? She would not be allowed to marry a Kohen. A convert may not be able to be a rabbinic court judge, may not be able to be a person that has power, right? A position of power. Let's say, maybe like a rabbi of synagogue, head of a yeshiva, or something like that. Now, it's a technical issue. We're not discriminating against converts, technical issue. Because where do we learn the idea about power? The verse tells us learning about what? About a king. Right? About a king. Now, the Torah there says, when we speak about a king of the Jewish people, a king of the Jewish people is what? Has to be me'echov, of his brethren. Literally, of his brothers. Very good. They're going to say, but a convert, when a convert prays, can't they say, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Yeah. Can't they say those are our forefathers? Yes. Were they born into it? No. They weren't born into it. So technically speaking, they can't be called your brother. Even though they're 100% a Jew. Over here. So now the Torah says, so now we find out that a king has to be of your brothers, of your brethren. Right? So power comes from that. And if you're not part of your brethren, technically, so we learn out from there, converts not going to have position of power. In general. Right? For most things, we're the same. Right? Converts and born Jews, they're the same. There are some technical issues, which, I think people do get too bent out of shape. Where women will say, but, why can't I marry a Kohen? Kohen has yichus. Kohen has a pedigree. The Kohen would not be allowed to marry even a Jewish woman, born Jewish, if they have the status of a zona. Right? Literally a prostitute, but it doesn't mean necessarily a prostitute. It means they've been with someone they're not allowed to be with. So that disqualifies them. So a secular Jewish woman who becomes religious, and she's been with somebody, let's say she's not allowed to be with, that disqualifies her. Because, it's discrimination. No, there's a status. There's a status. The Kohen has a pedigree. He's got a greater pedigree than everybody else. Why? Because God said so. That's it. God told the Jewish people, you got to listen to the Kohen in every generation. Which means the rabbis in every generation. But the Kohen's the one who did all the sacrifices. They're the ones, gave all the classes, taught Torah. So they have a special pedigree. A convert doesn't have pedigree. They're going to say, but their soul was in Mount Sinai, right? Wasn't their soul technically in Mount Sinai? Yeah, their soul was in Mount Sinai. That's why any non-Jew wants to convert. They have no business converting. No business coming to Judaism. Why? Because it's so foreign to them. Doesn't matter. You're going to tell me most people I deal with come out of Christianity very good. Yeah, they'll say they saw all the fallacies of the church and all that and all the lies and this and that. Well, think about it. Imagine on Sukkot, right? Example we always give. Imagine on the holiday of Sukkot in Allah, right? Those Thanksgiving prayers say on every holiday. But imagine you walk into a synagogue and all of a sudden, you see all these Jews, so you see all these men, with the palm fronds, with their lulav, their lemon on steroids, right? They got their esrog, right? Their citron, whatever you want to call it. You got willows, you got myrtle leaves, and they're shaking like this, and they're shaking like this. You're gonna think you fell out of the moon. You're gonna think, where did I come from? Where am I? So to speak. If I grew up with it, I saw it, didn't really know much about it. Okay. someone coming on the outside looking in has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with anything. It's something foreign. Very, very foreign. Now, if it's something very, very foreign, does it make sense? Does it make sense, literally? Someone's going to say, yeah, I saw all the contradictions in the church, and I've been lied to and I've been duped, and now, I want to come to Judaism, this and that, because the Old Testament's based on, the New Testament, quote unquote, based on the Old Testament. Very good. Yeah, a lot of people will say that. But they have no business coming into Judaism, in a rational way. It doesn't make any sense. So many laws don't make sense. Laws of kashrus, give another example. Nobody knows why we keep the laws of kashrus in general. Torah says you can't, cook a calf in its mother's milk. Okay. But if I take kosher meat and I take kosher cheese and I put kosher meat and kosher cheese together through fire, right? Through heat, I've now made a Torah prohibition of mixture of milk and meat. Mixture of milk and meat. If I take that mixture, put it in another pot, trace up that pot, in another pot till infinity. Yeah, trace up everything. Now, I'll ask the $1 million question. Why should that be? Logically. Why should that be? I got kosher meat and kosher cheese. All of a sudden, I put them together, makes it forbidden. Yeah, the rabbis did their best trying to come up with a reason, right? Or potential reasons. Bottom line is it's a chok. It's a law we don't understand. No different than shatnez, taking wool and linen. Can't wear wool and linen together. So if a person, let's say, had a suit, it says 100% wool. Yeah, guess what? You got to get a check for shatnez. Make sure there's no linen in it. I remember, I went to South America, so I lost one of my boxes. Right? Like all these boxes I sent there. One of them got lost. What box got lost? What was the obvious box going to get lost? Suits. Yeah, so a lot of my suits got lost. Very good. Very good. What happened? So I had to go to a store, my broken Spanish, and I had to tell, somebody there, I want a suit, I want, a jacket, I want pants. Sin lana, right? Without wool. Guy's like, sin lana? I'm like, yeah, sin lana is what I said. What's the matter? You don't understand Spanish? You don't understand my Spanish? Come on. I probably speak better than you. Yeah. I thought I was nuts. So what do you bring me? Polyester. Yeah. Cotton. Something that does not have wool. Because even though it says 100% wool, could be. There's linen. Linen in the springs to the buttons. Someone who knows how to check for shatnez, they check about 10 different places. Or 12 different places. I forget how many. Exactly what, where to make sure there's no linen. I remember when I was in the States, someone, it was wintertime, someone gave a bunch of sweaters to my kids, and obviously on the sweater it said 100% wool. So I thanked them very much. I said, hopefully it's no problem. I have to get them checked. They said, get them checked for what? So I said, shatnez, secular Jew. So I said, shatnez. You're not allowed to have a mixture of wool and linen. So the person asked me, why? He said, it's a good question. We're not really sure why. It's a law that, we don't really understand, right? So the person said to me, so we don't really understand it, so to speak, well, you can't give me a reason. Why would I do it? What would be the purpose of me doing it? Good question. And my quick answer was, and if I did give you a reason, you could say, I don't like this reason. If I gave you another reason, you could say, I don't like this reason. Doesn't matter. There are a lot of things in the Torah that don't make sense. That literally don't make sense. Probably 80% of the Torah, right? Doesn't make sense. So even again, so the point is, that even a non-Jew's going to come and say, yeah, I came to this conclusion. I understood this. And I saw all the fallacies of the church and all that. Very good. Very good. But coming into it from the outside, if a Jew grew up with it, they saw it, even though they didn't know what it meant. It's one thing. Someone coming from the outside, you're going to keep these laws, and a lot of them don't make sense, right? Don't make sense, rational sense, or or these laws are universal, so to speak. So it can only be that their soul must have been on Mount Sinai. That spark was still there. The only problem is that spark now is a non-Jewish spark. How can that be? Mentioned this many times. How can a soul go from being Jewish to non-Jewish? Very good. So someone more steeped in Kabbalah can give you an answer, right, on that. Yeah, I can give an answer on that. However that works. But someone coming in, there has to be that spark. It's not just about a search. Not just about a search for truth. A lot of people searching for truth, a lot of people don't get to the truth. Because the Gemara says, if you want the truth, God will help you. If you don't want the truth, God will not stop you, right? You want to go in the wrong direction, God won't stop you. But even wanting the truth, I've spoken to a lot of people over the years, and I've had a number of people say, yeah, I've been searching, I've been learning, and this and that. Have a conversation with them, see where the whole thing, tell them what Judaism, is all about in a nutshell, and what they have to learn. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. It's so all encompassing. Some people don't have a clue. They do not have a clue. As to what their obligations are, right, or not. But the bottom line is, even someone coming into Judaism, right, and they're going to say, oh, I want to convert, and let's say they're going to prove they're going to be the real deal and do whatever it takes. Very good. Very good. Rationally speaking, makes no sense. Makes no sense, logically. Right? My Rebbe would say, and if you move to a Jewish community, and you see how Jews act, and you still want to convert, either you're real deal or a little bit wacko. Why? Because people will say, okay, Jews can do bad things, even religious Jews. Right? They can certainly do bad things. So you can say, okay, I'm not gonna mix up Jews and Judaism. We have to be held to a higher standard, as we always say. But at the same time, we're our own worst enemy. Because just because we know what to do, or we should know what to do, doesn't mean we always do it. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. Not only that, Rashi says, at the end of the Gemara in Yuma, what's the definition of a desecration of God's name? Now, people throw this out. Mentioned this a number of times also. People throw this idea of Chilul Hashem, desecration of God's name. Throw it out like yesterday's water. Right? They throw it out a lot. Right? What do they mean by desecration of God's name? It means a Jew, let's say better, does something wrong. Right? Does something wrong. And other people get turned off by it. They say, this is what Judaism is. This is what Orthodox Jews do. So to speak. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be something so egregious. Yeah. It can be something relatively minor, or we think is minor. Stealing, misrepresenting, that's pretty major. Right? You're not allowed to defraud anybody, Jew or non-Jew. Right? Like someone came to this great rabbi and said, says, Rabbi, I got a question. I got, the certain cloth, the certain material. I got a mixture of grade A, grade B, grade C. Because I want to sell it as grade A. So he's like, I don't understand the question. So I thought, speak a little bit slower, a little bit louder. So he started asking the question again. This great rabbi, stopped him in the middle. He's like, I understood what you said. Not deaf. Certainly not stupid. Said, I understood what you said. He said, that's Ganev, it's stealing. Total prohibition. You're misrepresenting. It's fraud. How are you allowed to do that? So the person said, Rabbi, it's business. Now, that person gets caught. Let's say he sells this material. Somebody buys it, Jew or non-Jew, doesn't really matter. Right? Jew or non-Jew buys it. They see it's inferior quality. But they sold it as grade A. They come back and say, hey, what are you doing? Look at this material. I can rip it in 3 seconds. You're telling me it's fiber, it's got this, it's got that, it's got the other thing. It's got all the great things about it, so you can charge me more for it, but it doesn't. You're a liar. It's fraud. Yeah. So we're our own worst enemy. That's bad. That's really bad. Because you're going to say, if an Orthodox Jew does it, see, they should know better. If you're going to tell me it's by a secular Jew, it's one thing. It's also bad. Also bad. But if you're going to tell me an Orthodox Jew does it, that's 10 times worse. Right? So Rashi there in Yuma says, what's the desecration of God's name? Because the Gemara over there says, one of the rabbis says, desecration by God's name by me is if I don't walk within 4 amos with towels and tefillin. If I don't walk with 4 arm lengths, if I don't walk all the time in towels and tefillin, for me, that's desecration of God's name. For someone else, it says if I buy meat or I buy something in the store, and I pay on credit, and I get credit, I'll pay later, right? Everyone according to their level. Rashi there says what it means is, strict definition would be that somebody learned something bad from what you did. That's what it means. Something, in other words, they're not taking anything out of context. Person does something, right? And they learn, what do they learn bad? Let's say a person, I don't know, person's in line, waiting in the post office, waiting in, a grocery store. Yeah. Whatever, they're antsy, they cut in line, they do other things. Yeah. The person looks at them, it's like, who are you? Like, you gotta wait like everyone else. No, you don't stand, I'm in a rush. Who cares? Right? That gives you a ride, also double park. No, I'm just going in to get something. I'll be out in 2 minutes. Yeah. See this all the time. People double park. Like they own the road. They block up traffic. Why was that permissible? How in the world is that permissible? My time's not worth anything. I got to sit there and wait, and you're taking up my time. What? My time's any worse? So if a person's going to learn bad character traits from it, that's a desecration of God's name. Yeah, according to Rashi, we got a stricter definition. It's got to be done in front of 10 Jews. But okay, that's that term is thrown around, like a rag doll. Anyone who does something bad, especially if they're a Jew, it's a desecration of God's name. Technically, it's not. It's probably not a good thing to do. It's probably other people are going to learn bad things from it. Okay, that makes it worse. See, it's one thing, you don't keep Torah mitzvahs. You get blamed for it anyway, but if you don't keep Torah mitzvahs, you do things wrong. One thing. But if you're supposed to know better, Orthodox Jews are held to a higher standard, right? As we always say. Yeah, and I've heard people say, it's an absolute privilege to be a Jew. However, secular Jews would think it's a privilege to be a Jew. However, more Orthodox Jews would think that. That is a privilege. They don't have to look at it as a privilege. Okay, these are my obligations. This is what I have to do. And if I don't, I could get severely punished. True? You got to love what you do. That's the whole point. You want to draw close to God, you got to love what you do. Even if life beats you down, even if it's hard. Yeah, but this idea of desecration of God's name, we're our own worst enemy. So I heard he said, anyone who moves into a Jewish community, they see how Jews act. I'm not saying everyone's going to be a thief and do other things, but there will be some that are not on the up and up, let's say. So what do? You could say, how could they do that? They're supposed to keep the Torah, supposed to keep the law. You're right. 100%. So people understand, and they'll say, people are people. Just because it's supposed to be Orthodox Jews doesn't mean they're totally righteous. Doesn't mean that. But they're going to be held to a different standard. They're going to be held to a much higher standard. Right? So people coming in, as we mentioned yesterday in Pirkei Avot, right? Why do converts give Jews a bad name? In general. One of the reasons is because they're more strict in laws than Jews are. They keep things stronger than we do, than born Jews. So that makes us look bad. I mean, the other reasons also, that's one main reason. Anyone coming in, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Someone's going to want to take on all this. If you were born a Jew, I get it. If you got Jewish blood, right? If you got Jewish blood, person's father's Jewish, grandfather was Jewish, or whatever, or, you have proof, you don't have proof, whatever it may be, it's one thing. Then you want to look into it. Okay. Well, someone has no Jewish blood. And again, people can take me to task on this. I still think it's true. Most non-Jews coming into Judaism today do not have Jewish blood. Most. Yeah. And I'm going to stick to that position. I've come across people, that have some Jewish blood. I'm not talking about a DNA test. Yeah. That they have Jewish blood. Yeah. Grandfather, great-grandfather, somewhere down the line. But they have no proof. Or it's on the wrong side, either way. Yeah. For the vast majority, nothing. Nothing. If anyone coming into Judaism, what's the reason? Right? What's the main reason they're coming in? It's because they have the spark. And this spark is reconnecting them. Right? This spark is reconnecting them to Judaism. That's what it's doing. Why now, after generations? Could be many, many generations later. Why now? Can't answer. Right? But now that spark comes alive. And now the person wants to go through conversion. Now, keep in mind as well, even if that's true, even if they have the greatest desire to convert, let's call a spade, and that is less than 20% who want to convert, who have the desire to convert, actually convert. Why is such a small percentage? Well, some people will say, because we make it too hard. Yeah, maybe. There could be 100 different reasons why. One of the main reasons why is because they can't move. Right? That's the main reason. There could be family issues. Could be livelihood issues. Could be fill in the blank. Could be a lot of issues. Yeah. Even if someone's got the sincerest desire, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to finish. A lot of people have unfinished business. Been in contact with people that, I've been trying to do this for 20 years. I don't think it should take 20 years. They're interested, they're all fired up, and then other things happen in life. Because other things happen, they got sidetracked. Can also happen. For sure can happen. Right? So King Solomon says, we mentioned again yesterday in Pirkei Avos as well, King Solomon says in Proverbs, Torah gotta want more than rubies, diamonds, gold. The only ones that survive this process are ones that put all the effort in. They'll do whatever it takes to get to the other side. Other obstacles? Oh, yeah. There are going to be obstacles. Family could be an obstacle. Yeah, friends could be an obstacle. Livelihood could be an obstacle. Could be a lot of things. Health. Throw in health. Could be an obstacle. A lot of things. A lot of things. So it's only going to be the few that survive. I don't think there's any question. That's what we see. Out of 100 people seriously interested, how many are going to actually convert? 10? 15? We say it's less than 20%. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It doesn't mean the other people aren't sincere. They could be. But they don't finish. They get this, it could be a lot of factors. A lot of factors. They could be held accountable later if they actually could have converted. Now, how do you know they could have converted or not? God knows. If a person had good reason not to convert, or they couldn't convert, okay. Yeah. And if God accepts it, very good. If he said you could have done it anyway, but you didn't and you were lazy or whatever, and you really could have done it, God checks the person's heart, and God sees what's really there, then what can you say? You got no excuse. You have no excuse. Punishment is severe. Right? Again, the evil inclination works very strong here. He works very hard. I always say, the evil inclination comes stronger after conversion. Someone will say, come on, what I'm going through now makes it pretty hard. And Bali Tshuva go through this. Right? Returnees to Judaism. Person didn't grow up religious, becomes religious. A lot of obstacles. Tremendous amount of obstacles. Okay, they don't have to convert. Most likely. They don't have to go through conversion, okay, but they have to learn. They have to keep what the Torah says. Doesn't mean they have it easy. You know, a friend of mine, he became religious. Whatever, his parents totally cut him off. Father never met his wife and his kids. His mother did once. I don't know, more than once. Whatever. It's sad. Religion should not break up families. It shouldn't. I've heard this many times. We didn't change, you changed. True. But it's not really change. Because essentially you're reconnecting to a chain. You're a link in a chain that goes back to Mount Sinai. Now, use that argument and go anywhere, but that's the truth. We'll call America that break in the chain, okay, or any other nation for that matter, that destroyed Jews and Judaism. Yeah. So now someone's relinking, is taking that link and coming back. So if they're coming back, that's a huge thing. You're going back to a tradition that's more than 3,000 years old. Yeah. So in the last 100 years, a lot of chains in the Jewish people have been broken. 60% into marriage, 70% into marriage, other places higher. That chain has been broken in many ways. So reconnecting to that chain is a huge thing. But what is secular Jews going to say? They're going to say, but we didn't change over here. We're the same people we were. You made all the change. You all of a sudden started keeping kosher. You all of a sudden started keeping Shabbos. You got brainwashed. Thank God we got brainwashed. Good thing get your brain squeegeed a little bit for truth. But isn't the oldest book, best-selling book, let's say even, is the Torah? Right? More people have read it than any other book combined. No question. So if that's true, and we're reconnecting to that, so somebody's veered off the path. So they want to claim you veered off the path. Claim a lot of things about me. Veering off the path, that's not what it's called. You're reconnecting. You're making that connection that got broken. And anyone anywhere else, that connection's been broken for whatever reason. And now someone's coming back. Again, there could be hundreds of reasons why. But the bottom line is because you have the spark. That spark allows someone to draw close. Without that spark, wouldn't make any sense. Would not make any sense at all. For a non-Jew. For a Jew, I could hear much better. Because they saw it. They had a Passover Seder. They lit Hanukkah candles. They went to synagogue, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, maybe. Let's say. They did something, some more, some less. But most people will say, growing up with it, oh, I know what it is. Don't give me about that, I know what it is. They really know what it is. People can barely read Hebrew. I'm going to take what they say seriously. They don't know what it is. They just say, I don't want it. I don't have any connection to it. I want to do what I want to do. And that's it. You can't say otherwise. Okay? That's what people want. Live and let live. Moral relativism. Morality is relative. Let me do what I want. Don't make me feel guilty. But guess what? We make people feel guilty. Orthodox Jews make secular Jews feel guilty. Why? Because secular Jews will look at you, or look at me, let's say, and they'll say, you don't think I'm Jewish? I don't know. Is your mother Jewish? Yes. Is your grandmother Jewish? Yes. Was there any conversions in between? No. So there's no problem. Not a question of what I think or what I don't think. There's a reality. If you're Jewish, you're Jewish. Yeah. Now, could you do things to quote unquote lose your status of Judaism unless you repent? Yes. Secular Jew doesn't keep Shabbos. Desecrate Shabbos in public. They have status of a non-Jew? Yes. What happens if they touch your wine that's not cooked? Got to throw it out. If it's open, the bottle's open. There are other ramifications. Now, can they repent? Yeah. Any Jew goes against the 13 principles of faith. Any one of them, they lose their status as a Jew unless they repent, unless they do tshuva. And they're pretty severe. These are things that make us who we are. These are fundamental principles. God is one. Pretty fundamental. God is unique in the world. There's prophecy. Prophecy of Moses greater than everybody else. Right? Resurrection of the dead, coming of the Messiah, reward and punishment. These are basic things. And unfortunately, whether they know anything or they don't know anything, plenty of Jews will deny many of these. Many of them. Because they resurrection of the dead, nah. Next world, this, that, Messiah, nah. Reward and punishment, what are you reward and punishment? Stuff happens. Measure for measure, never see it. A lot of people will deny basic things. They may say, I believe in God. And I believe in one God. And it also says it on the dollar bill, in God we trust. And what does that mean? I was going to rabbinical school, in New York, a local paper interviewed me, and that's one of the quotes that I actually got right. They said, my quote was, people say that, a lot of people say they believe in God. I think that's a bunch of garbage. That's what they quoted. That was what I said. I actually got it right. Yeah. People claim to believe in God. Okay. And does that make them more moral? What does that mean? What in the world does that mean? More observance to whatever they believe in? Or they just say, yeah, I believe there's a creator. Maybe not like you believe. Heard that before. They're going to say, well, we don't do the same thing. Okay, you chose to reject it. You want to do what you want. It's not a question of, do you believe the Torah is true? How do you know the world to come? How do you know this? They're not interested. Not interested. They want to do what they want to do, and you have to say it's okay. Like someone once said to me, they said, I mentioned, they mentioned that, they died going 6 feet under. So I'm like, yeah, you're going to have what to pay in the next world. They're like, the next world, like, come on. You're talking about, spiritual world, is that, I said, yeah, there's life after death. You ever see any of these, you ever seen these movies of people who have out-of-body experiences and different things? There's a life after death. Can you explain it in less than 30 seconds? If I would have started talking, they would have shut me down. I said, here, I'll send you a link. Take a look at the link. Did they look at it? No, I did. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. You know what they say? Propaganda never goes to waste. Okay. So I sent it out. Did it do anything? Probably not. Right? Probably not. They're not interested in an answer. They're interested in that you have to say what they do is okay, no matter what. I have to leave my mind open until my brains fall on the floor. Makes no sense. I identify as a woman. Thank you very much. You're a guy. Sorry. Sorry to say. You get in trouble for this. You lose your job because of this. Respecting an Orthodox Jew, no. That we don't have to do. But we have to let men dressed up as women compete in sports. That's insanity. And they're breaking all these different records. That's insanity. They're men. They're not women. Sorry to say. It's a messed up world. So you want to cling to morality, to absolute morality, and you want to do the right thing, and this and that, and you're like, we discriminate against women, discriminate against non-Jews, we do this, we do that, we do the other thing, but that's okay. Telling a 5-year-old boy, how do you know you really want to be a boy? Maybe you want to be a girl. That's okay. That's not indoctrination. Yeah, it doesn't matter what age. Anyone under the age of 9, 10 or whatever. Nothing from nothing. 0. What are you telling them? That's not indoctrination. Oh, I think it is. No, you're expanding their minds. You're expanding their minds. Teach them to think outside the box. No, you're indoctrinating them. You are trying to get them to think there's something they're not. Yeah, we have a religion, we believe in God, blah, blah, blah. they're going to say, well, you're indoctrinating. We believe it's the word of God. We believe you got to keep it. You got to listen to the rabbi, right? A lot of things you got to do over here. And we're going to teach our kids from a very young age what they need to do, what they're not allowed to do. You're right. We're not open-minded. We're not claiming to be open-minded. But how can you take somebody? How can you take a kid, doesn't know nothing from nothing, and put ideas that are so foreign, no one would have thought in a million years. Nobody. And to say that's the norm. And that's not indoctrination. We're living in a seriously messed up world. Right? Everybody knows that. Right? You don't need me to say that. Not reinventing the wheel. At the same time, person has to realize, what are my obligations? What should I be doing? What is the reality? They're going to say, well, two people can see the same thing and have a different reality. Yeah, there could be different ramifications. I'll give an example. Let's say you have witnesses. You have, let's say, two sets of witnesses. You have two sets of witnesses watching an event. You have four people. Four people essentially watching one event. So what do I do? So let's say one of those witnesses is a relative. Right? Let's say they're a relative. So if they're a relative, right? If they're a relative, can they testify? No. They're not allowed to testify. They're not allowed to testify. Right? Why not? Because they are the relatives. Now, if they're relatives, there's going to be a bias. If there's a bias, they can't testify. Now it gets a little more interesting. Yeah, let's say, what is the rabbinical court going to ask them? The rabbinical court is going to ask them. The rabbinical court is going to ask them the following question: the event that you saw, you had intention just to see it, or you had intention to testify? You're going to say, what's the big deal? Right? What's the difference? Oh, it's a big difference. Why is there a big difference? Big difference, very simple reason. The difference is someone who witnesses something, or let's say better, somebody sees something. They see something, and their intention is they're not paying attention to detail. 100% they are not paying any attention to detail. So now if they come testify in general, what would I say? They're not going to know details. But somebody there, they say, did you see the event in order to testify? Person says yes. What are they going to say? Since I had intention to testify, we would say, logic would tell you, they probably looked into it a lot more. They probably looked into the details more. Now, at the same time, you had two people seeing the same thing. One would be allowed to testify. One wouldn't be allowed to testify. But let's say the person seeing it now wants to come testify. Person wants to come testify, and either he's blemished for some reason that he's not allowed to give testimony, or let's say they're a relative of one of the other witnesses. That throws out the entire testimony. So I only mention this point because two people can see something. They can certainly witness something. But even by witnessing it, the ramifications of testifying are gigantic. They can throw out the entire testimony. No, in this case, you don't say, wow, we got another kosher witness over here, let him testify. Right? But it's complex. It's complex, the laws of, what do you call it? In the laws of giving testimony. Why is it complex? It's complex because the question is, did the kosher witnesses, just throw this out there, did the kosher witnesses understand the other ones weren't kosher? Do they understand that they were blemished? Do they understand at the same time that they were relatives? Or somebody was related to them? You're going to say, what's the difference? Because if they saw the same thing at the same time, it's all considered one testimony. If it's considered one testimony and I have a car of a puzzle, I have someone who's a relative or someone who's blemished who can't testify, you throw out the whole testimony. So there's a lot of discrepancy over here. At what stage do we say it's considered one testimony or not? Is it all one testimony and you throw the whole thing out or not? So a lot of different opinions, goes a lot of different ways, a lot of different factors, right? But without going into that much detail, it's a lot of information. The point is, two people see the same thing, right? Let's say they see the same thing. The ramifications of what they see and what they say could be totally different, right? Someone once told me, just while beating this topic down, someone said, I asked them when I was going to write a book about people who came back to Judaism, were not born religious, came back to Judaism, and I would ask people the same question, like, okay, what sparked it for you? What made you change? So this person said, that's not the question. That's not the question you should ask. The question is that me and my siblings, we saw the same thing. Why did they go one direction? I went to a different direction. In other words, if we saw the same thing, how is it possible that they didn't see what I saw? How is it possible they don't see God in the picture? They take God right out of the picture, so to speak, and they do not follow that path. Right? How is that? So the person said, that's the question you should ask. That's a more fundamental question. Again, during the Gulf War, 39 Scud missiles don't hit anything. The odds of that are pretty much zero. So all the money I don't have, I'd bet that would never happen. Someone tells me I can figure it out, takes out his watch, starts pushing buttons. I said, come on. What if the odds are 1 in a billion? What if the odds are 1 in a trillion? 39 missiles, most of the pinpoint accuracy. They hit nothing, all open areas. Israel's not that big of a place. It ain't not a building. Nothing. One or two things. Either you got the stupidest terrorists shooting these things, could be, right? Or God's directing them in a different way. There's only two answers. You say, oh, we're shooting them down, this and that. No. I think even before we had the Patriot missile, right? Knock them down. But even so, this is cognitive dissonance. They'll tell you, if it didn't have anything to do with their lives or belief in God, anybody would tell you the odds of these missiles, that had, relatively close range, give or take, hitting nothing. If it had nothing to do with God, or believe in a supernatural being, everybody would say 39? Not going to hit anything? Just open fields? Not a building, not a parked car, not a fire hydrant, nothing? You're not going to hit anything? Not a school, not a movie theater? I don't know. You're not going to hit anything. Most people, if not everybody, would say those odds, those odds are about zero. Everybody would have to come to that conclusion. You're not talking, you're not talking shooting these missiles, 5,000 miles away or whatever. You got these missiles that can hit. Okay, so why don't they hit anything? Why do they not hit anything? Just open fields. You don't have a rational explanation. The explanation is it'll never happen. That's the answer. Everybody would answer the same thing. But they're thinking, oh, you're going to think if that had happened, I have to believe in God. So I'll take out my calculator and I'll say it's 1 in 3 billion chance. 1 in 3 billion, let's say. Or like, 1 in 10 trillion, deficit in America right now or more. A lot more than that. Yeah. Only 1 in a trillion that's going to happen. If you had any money at all and you could keep doubling it every time that happens, you'd be a multi-billionaire. That will never happen. The odds will never happen. Yeah. So if the odds will never happen, why would people hold on to it for dear life? Same reason why most of academia and a lot of people believe in evolution. Right? It's up there with the 3 biggest lies ever created in the history of man. One of them is Christianity, one of them is evolution, one of them is such a thing as a Palestinian people. Now, each one could be number one. Evolution, come on. Even among science, a lot of scientists don't believe in it. Yeah. But what happens if you don't believe in evolution? What if I don't believe in evolution? Right? If you don't, if you don't, if you don't believe, if you don't believe in evolution, what's your alternative? What is your alternative? You got to believe that there's a God who created the world. You have to go back to creation. So we mentioned this many times. What's his name? You got Einstein. You got Stephen Hawking. You got other great people, other great scientists, mathematicians. Agree that the world is an expanding universe. Who's making it expand? They don't have answers according to science. Stephen Hawking went so far to say, in his book, A Brief History in Time, looks like I've proven the creation is right. Can't believe it. What do you mean? Take all my scientific evidence, you throw it in the garbage? Just because you don't want to say the creationists are right. So if I had them both in my room right now, I'd say, Steve, Al, pleasure to meet you. Got one question. One question. Show me, according to science, what is making the world, the universe expand. Now, science, math, something. Show me, according to your world, what is making the universe expand. And what are they going to say? We don't have any evidence. They're going to say, we don't know. We're not sure. Yeah, but they'll say, we're still working on it. Yeah, could be the evolution still working on the missing link that they'll never find. But okay, still working on it. So I said, okay, let me ask the question again. Just want to make sure you guys understand. Do you have evidence right now? Right now, is there concrete evidence in science or math or physics that's going to show why the world, the universe is expanding? Yes or no? They have to answer no. They said, we don't have evidence. Okay. Right? They don't have evidence. Very good. So then I would say, okay, are there any alternatives? They're going to say no. Let's ask the question again. Steve, Al, come on. Is there any other alternative? Anything you can think of in the world that may explain the universe is expanding? I got an answer. Al, you want to take my answer? Okay, what's your answer? Genesis chapter 1. Oh no, you can't say that. Can't say that. Come on, that's being square. That's leaving your mind somewhere else. That's having a leap of faith. No, you guys have a leap of faith. Because you guys are telling me you're going to find it in science. You haven't found it. Oh, we'll find it. But you haven't found it. You have no evidence. Zero. You have no evidence. You have to at least entertain the possibility. You have to entertain the possibility creation might be true, according to the Bible. And they'll never do it. They'll only do what their mind says, what science says, what physics says, but they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. So the simple question I would say is either find me an answer, which you won't find, right? I'm not even going to give you more time. You don't have an answer. At least entertain the possibility the Torah may be true. And that Genesis may be true. They won't do that. But that's the only other choice. What other choice is there for the universe continues to expand? What is that other choice? There's no other choice. Yeah. Science is not foolproof. But they're going to say, oh, you're square. You have a leap of faith. No, it's not about a leap of faith. No, I believe it's true. I believe there's evidence. But you're throwing out something that could really explain what's going on. Right? So somebody says, okay, even if that's true, someone here asks, yeah, why people easily change their ways, others are stubborn and skeptical. So you have to ask them. There's not a clear-cut reason. I would say most people are probably skeptical because they don't want the truth. What does truth mean? I had one person in the last 30 years who was intellectually honest. Everyone else, a bunch of liars, a bunch of fakes. One person was intellectually honest. Person tells me a secular Jew married to a non-Jew. Tells me many years ago, if I look into Judaism and I find out it's true, right, and I have to change my ways, I'm not willing to do it. Because if I find it's true, but I'm not willing to change my ways, there's no point. So I'm not going to look into it. They were honest. Everyone else got Webster's fifth definition, eighth definition, this, that doesn't mean this, doesn't mean that. I can believe what I want, and the rabbis this, they made it up, whatever. Right? So the question is, okay, someone's asking, why are people stubborn and skeptical? Right? What's the answer? Because they don't want to hear the truth. Now, you ask me, Rabbi, come on, why don't they want to hear the truth? What's the answer? What's the obvious answer? The obvious answer is, if they hear the truth, they might have to change. That change goes against their spouse, goes against their kids, goes against their friends. They lose everything, right? Or they think they're going to lose everything. That's why they don't want to change. Yeah, but we're living in a world, in an Amaleki world. No such thing as supernatural. People have been burned many times by religion, so they don't want any religion. They're not interested in anything. They just want to do what they want to do. Yeah. Then people say religion's the opiate of the masses. Tries to convince people, brainwashes them, this, that. It's all about money, and who knows what else. What other terrible things go on with religion. People want to be left alone. Most people today, it used to be people thought. People actually think about things. So remember when I was growing up, someone said 1% of the world thinks, 4% think they think, 95% rather die than think. People do not want to think. It's all about, do I put ketchup or mustard on my hot dog? So hey, what about relish? Oh, Tosfos question. Very good. Yeah. People don't want to think. People want to do what they want to do, and they want to justify what they do. And then people I grown up with, people know me 40 years more, they'll say, "But yeah, you're still a fanatic, you're still this, whatever." Okay, so what? Yeah, are they growing in any way spiritually that I see? No. I'm not saying they're not changing, it's just what I see. Yeah. But people say, "Hey, I didn't know what they think." You can't really say what's in their heart. You're right, I can't. I can tell you what's on their Facebook page. Right? I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, people don't change. Some might. Most people are not interested. Why? Because if you change, what are the repercussions? What are the repercussions? You alienate people. Anyone who's religious, they're going to think you're backwards. They're going to think you've been brainwashed. Thank God. Yeah, they're going to think you're crazy. It doesn't matter. They say, "Oh, you raised a beautiful family," and this and that. They still think you're nuts because they want to be told what they're doing is okay. Right? So I would love to believe from the question, people are skeptical. Some are. I would agree. Some are. I think today, unless someone has a crisis or something happens, most people don't care. It's not a question of being skeptical. Being skeptical is someone who's an agnostic. Someone who's agnostic thinks there may be a God, there may not be a God. They have a doubt whether there's a God. Okay? They're not saying they're an atheist. Okay. Yeah. So at least they're thinking maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But, again, I would take all the money I don't have. And I would say, even if they say that, they haven't thought about it the last 10 years or last 20 years for more than 5 minutes. Not even. They're not thinking about this. They just throw it out there. Yeah. Well, I'm not an atheist, so I'm an agnostic. Have you done any research? No. So they don't know. They'll say they don't want to be called an atheist. Okay. Most people today, they're not interested in anything. They want to do what they want to do. And they want to justify what they want to do. And you have to accept it. And you have to say it's okay. Well, that's going to ruffle a number of feathers. Which I'm very good at, by the way. Because the reality is, who wants the truth today? People that are searching, and if they're searching for truth, God will help them. That's it. They don't want the truth. God will push them aside. They'll get lost however they get lost. But the majority of people today want truth. They're not interested in truth. A lot of people are not interested in truth. They're not searching. They are not searching. So why would people hold on to dear life their crazy beliefs? Because they don't want to change. Not only that, someone who actually knows something, has been studying this, they're not going to engage them in conversation on this topic. Why not? What if you're right? See, some people out there actually have integrity. In that if you actually box them in a corner, and now they have to answer, and they don't have an answer, doesn't mean they're going to change. But, some people say, "Okay, you got me, I don't have an answer." And that doesn't necessarily bother them. Right? In other words, your whole world is going to be turned upside down. And most people understand this. Anyone who's gone through this process, any secular Jew become religious, or any non-Jew, wanting to convert, they understand this. You're asking why? Because people outside, on the outside, so to speak, they're like, "Why are you doing this? This is crazy. Why would you even, bother with this?" And what's the answer? What's the answer? They think you've gone out of your mind. Yeah, they see it as a threat. You're different. You won't do the same things that we do. You won't go to the same places that we do. So that person feels alienated, as they should. Yeah, I'm not saying it's good, but there are things we can't do. We're not allowed to do. So when it comes to family in this sense, you lose. Most of the time. Most of the time. I'm not going to say always, but a lot of times, family's going to go by the wayside. Doesn't have to. Someone asked me, many years ago, said, would you advise people to break off from family? I said, depends. They're horrified. I said, depends. You don't have to. It depends what the dynamics are. I got a little bit dicey or dodgy, as English would say. I said, yeah, someone puts me in a corner and says, you have to say that this intermarriage is good. Are you allowed to? No. Can you go to the wedding? No. You're a fanatic. Okay. Yeah. What can you do? It's the single biggest problem in Judaism today, intermarriage. Single biggest problem. Yeah. So how can you say that's okay? How in the world can you say that's okay? You can't. Now, isn't that going to offend people? Probably. They never may speak to you again. I had someone tell me basically, a woman, say, listen, you won't give me a hug and a kiss, you see me, don't even bother speaking to me, I don't have anything to do with you. So backwards and so this, so archaic, blah, blah. What can you do? I tried to ham it up. I made fun of it. I said this, that. Person didn't budge. They're horrified. Horrified. With everything else going on in the world, someone can say, well, you're worse than the Taliban. Worse than the Taliban? You know what the Taliban's been doing? I know what they meant. I get it, but I can take great offense to that. Imagine what I said, what I really thought about leftists. Imagine how far that would get me. So, in this case, many times you lose. It'll happen. I'm not prophet of doom. I'm not saying always going to happen, but a lot of times. A lot of times you'll have to break off from family. Some more, some less. Some people more open-minded, okay? But some people will put you in a corner. And some people say, you got to acknowledge this or you got to acknowledge that. And you can't. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. So what can you do? How is it possible? People are not as open-minded as they claim. Like someone say, live and let live. It's not about live and let live. They're just not willing to make an issue out of it. But it's not about live and let live. It's like you just ignore the problem. That's what they're saying. All right, whatever, we can agree, disagree. I love that argument. If you were on a debating team, you get a 0. You get an F. You flunk. That's not an, I was like, come on, give me something. Give me something. Give me a source. Give me something. We're not going there. You're right. You know why you're not going there? Because I'll flatten them like a pancake. They know I'll flatten them like a pancake. I once said to someone, I said, what do you think I've been doing over all these years? Sitting in an ashram going, meditation, not speak. Like, what do you think? Plenty of things you can catch me on in Tanakh and other things. But you're learning day in and day out. Someone's got a PhD, a pilot higher and deeper, a Papa has dough. You're going to argue with someone's got a PhD? Really? Really? Stephen Hawking, we use him as an example. Person read an article on Wikipedia, on physics. You're going to knock off the greatest physicist of our generation? No. It's going to flatten you like a pancake. You don't know anything about physics. Yeah? Torah's any different? See, this is one of the prophecies. One of the prophecies before the Messiah comes, there are 15 signs before the Messiah comes. One of them is chutzpah. One of them is outright chutzpah. And this is what it is. In other words, they're gonna hate rabbinic authorities. They're gonna hate Torah. They're gonna hate whatever it stands for. They're gonna make fun of it like no tomorrow, even if they don't know anything. They have no arguments. It's like, oh, you can probably keep kosher because there's no problem with trichinosis today. Very good. What does that have to do with keeping kosher? Oh, you say they didn't heat things so good. You get tapeworm, you can get this. Someone told me this. I was in a kosher restaurant. Yeah. They asked me this question. They didn't ask it. They threw it out there. Said, you don't really have to keep kosher because no problem with trichinosis. And we're eating bagels. I said, I never heard of trichinosis in a bagel. They're like, yeah, whatever. Pass the salt. That was the end of the conversation. Were they interested in an answer? No. They just want to make fun of it. Right? That's this generation. That's the generation before the Messiah comes. Who are the people they hate the most? Rabbinic scholars. Fight against them tooth and nail if they don't know anything. You got people here also part of the ever of the mixed multitude. Make all kinds of stupid statements. Stupid statements they don't know anything about. There's somebody here. Made a comment. Made a comment. The Vilna Gaon in science and how he knew science so well, whatever. So this idiot, says, well, the Vilna Gaon, you're holding the Vilna Gaon, and he learned science and he knew math. So why can't ultra-Orthodox Jews learn math and science? So one of the ultra-Orthodox people in the Knesset, one of the rabbis, I guess, in the Knesset, demolished this person. They're like, well, the idiot from Moldova. That's what they called him. We didn't call him by name. So this idiot from Moldova. What do you know about the Vilna Gaon? You want to give a whole lecture what the Vilna Gaon knew and what he taught, and give some of the history. You know anything? You know your nose from your elbow. You moron. They're like, oh, getting so feisty. I didn't call you guys names. Oh no, you do it all the time. You malign us in the press. You say all kinds of things against us. Oh, we say one thing back. Oh, you can't do that. You're talking out of your elbow. You don't know diddly from diddly. You don't know nothing. In my language, you're going to tell me about the Vilna Gaon in science? And the Vilna Gaon knew science, and we shall know science. You're going to make such a comparison? You have any idea what you're talking about? They flattened this guy like a pancake. Like an absolute pancake. Oh, he wasn't too happy. He said worse things, many worse things against ultra-Orthodox Jews. That's not even the point. The point is, you got to sit there and listen to this garbage. Webster's 10th definition. Oh, but what about this? And what about that? They heard something somewhere. Who knows where? But this is the reality. What do you know about Torah? If you know something very good, let's discuss it. You're throwing out something from your elbow. You don't know nothing from nothing. Sit there, respect what you have to say. Not at all. Right? Someone here mentions that, heard from many, no one knows what is true. So let me ask. Well, I'm just beating down on this topic. Let me ask, how many people seriously, and I do mean seriously, have investigated truth? Have investigated other religions? There are people that have. Someone told me a story a few weeks back. 14-year-old kid, parents had plenty of money, wanted to go around the world and search all the religions. Came back and found that Judaism was true. Searched all the religions and found Judaism was true. Yeah, didn't have to convert, found out his mother was Jewish, whatever, the whole story. Okay, the 14-year-old kid searching for truth. Really searching for truth. How many people out there today? Now, there is a big repentance movement going on, certainly among Jews, right? No question. You got people that want to convert. Very good. In the bigger scheme of things, in the world, in this big world that we live in, How many people seriously are hitting the pavement searching for truth? Some are. I agree. Some definitely are. The vast majority, ketchup or mustard on my hot dog. Who's searching for truth? I'd love to think people are searching for truth. All you have to do to see where a person's holding, I don't recommend it. Go on any social media platform. See what people are posting. See what people are talking about. Then you know if they're really searching or not. Someone who's really searching, yeah, they'll put up Jewish quotes and Gemaras and Zohar and this and that, Jewish mysticism, very good. You know where they're holding, unless they're Messianics or whatever. But you know where they're holding. You know they're searching. You know that's important to them. What do other people put up? About sports? Entertainment? Funny things cats do? I mean, see that? See a lot of things. Yeah, most are probably a waste of time. Okay. Now, is that an indication? It's as good as an indication as anything else, unless you engage them in conversation. But these people, you're not necessarily going to engage in conversation. Yeah, so I would say most people, as we said before, 95% would rather die than think. I haven't met too many thinkers in the world. Maybe I'm hanging out with the wrong crowd. I don't know. I've not met too many thinkers. Most people want to enjoy life. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to live life. That's someone told me last year. Last year in the States, they're married a second time. They married a Jew. First time I said, well, he probably figured I would marry a non-Jew. Probably. I didn't say that. But he coming from nowhere. What's the expectation? Nothing. What's going to get someone to marry someone Jewish? They thought about Judaism. They thought about life. What life means in general. How many people really give it thought? Yeah. So you're going to say, well, you're a skeptic. You yourself are a skeptic. You don't believe many people are thinking, right? I definitely do not believe other people are thinking. Most people. Because I see what's important to them. People say, your family is very important. This is very important. But what do they do? Nothing. Nothing. Come back from work. They want to party. They want to enjoy life. Want to watch TV, go to a ball game, watch a movie. This, that. What are they doing? What are they doing in life that's meaningful? Talking about aged whiskey? Do people do that? People put on videos, once a week, twice a week. They'll say, oh, this whiskey is this, and this is that, and they'll tell you their expertise or not, or whatever. Okay. So that they're going to say, it's not my life, but I enjoy these things. Okay. Well, then my life is my kid, right? That's the most important thing. Very good. Yeah. So I have one question. My question is, what values do you give? What are the values? So what's the answer? What are values they think? And maybe the values have changed based on this generation. But again, my question would be, people say, well, who knows? You think the truth. You're right. You want to hear evidence? No. People don't care. I think the vast majority of people do not care. They just don't care. Not a question of being atheist, not atheist, and may believe in God, whatever. They don't care. They don't want to change. That's the point. Not a question is, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. Let them search. You want to see evidence? I can show you plenty of evidence. If you would throw this question out to most people, or let's say better, they would throw this question out to you. And they would say, wow, the Hindus think they have the truth. And the Muslims think they have the truth. So you also think you have the truth. So who's right? So what would we say? We're right. Oh, how do you know? How do you know these people aren't right? These other religions aren't right. Oh, Christianity? I'm going to show you proof why it can't be true. Islam? I'm going to show you why it can't be true. The Hindus, I'll show you why it can't be true. I'll knock holes in what they believe, in what they say. Now, if you can find holes in Judaism and things that don't add up, yeah. So Judaism also won't be true. But you're not even going to get that far because they're not interested. They are not interested. They're just not. They want to do what they want to do and they want to justify it. You want to be a right-wing fanatic, this and that, okay, you're a fanatic. It's not an argument. Most people do not want to hear the truth because if they hear the truth and they have to change, they don't want to change. So I don't want to hear the truth. Right? They don't want to hear the truth. Right? So if someone said, well, we don't know what's really true, did you ever search? Did you ever check into it? Did you ever want to learn about it? Anything? You have to get under their skin to see what they're about. And most people, I had someone say, a college kid once told me, you can prove 99% that the Torah is true, I have 1% free will. Do you know how stupid that sounds? That sounds absolutely idiotic. If I can prove something 99%, if I know every time I roll, I spin the wheel, a roulette wheel, and I know 99% of the time, black 13 is coming up because it's rigged. 99% of the time, I'm going to be very rich. Very rich. Even if it's 70% of the time. I'm talking about 99%. This is what this kid said. You can prove it 99% of the time, I got 1% free will that I can say it's not true. So my argument was, I said, I wrote a lot of term papers, in university and college. I majored in history. Very good. I said, how do you write a term paper? He said, tell me, how do you write a term paper? He said, you have a thesis. Very good. Then you have to prove it. Then you have to try and prove it. Okay. Now, then you have a conclusion. Okay. What if in your conclusion you bring up doubts? You ask questions on the proofs that you brought. I said, what's going to happen? They said, oh, you can't do that. I said, well, why not? They said, because you'll fail. Why will you fail? Because you're bringing contradiction to the evidence. You can't leave it in doubt. Very good. I said, if you have evidence, good evidence, and 99% of that evidence shows to be true, can you say I can still have a doubt? Logically. Forget what your heart tells you. Logically. Can you say that makes sense? Doesn't make sense. People will say it. I mean, I don't think most people would say it. This guy said it. It's illogical. 99%? I would tell you even 60%. If I can prove the Torah is true, the other 40%, even if I can't prove it, doesn't mean it's not true. You have to prove a significant amount. Okay. But you want to tell me 99%? That's crazy. People don't want to hear the truth. Right? People don't want to hear the truth. So, somebody mentioned by the film The Goat. We're not even going to bring him into the question. They can see the genius as a little child, right? People do not want to hear the truth. That's the bottom line. Right? That's what I'd say. That's the bottom line. Someone says it says 17 times in Tanakh. Okay, I'll take your word for it, let's say. That Hashem spread out the heavens. So that could be figurative. Doesn't necessarily mean literal. I mean, it could mean literal. He spread it out. God held the sun. He held the sun back, right? In different ways. Right? In different ways. He held the sun back a few times. God can do that. He can change nature. See that in the book of Exodus. So very good. And it's a metaphor. You could look at sometimes that's literal. Right? But that's more or less used as a metaphor. Someone asked, okay, I mean, that's what I would answer. Someone mentioned, looking into truth, they'll say it's a waste of time. People have told me many times, how can you live this restricted lifestyle? Yeah. I think studying ancient texts or doing this is, is a waste of time. Okay. Watching football is not a waste of time. Watching a movie, it's all fantasy. It's not a waste of time. No, that's different. It's entertainment. That's fun. Eating whatever you want, that's not a waste of time. No. You want to do what you want to do. That's the bottom line. So if someone doesn't, people claim, again, people claim to be open-minded. Someone who once told me, and I never have an answer, but I'll tell you what the answer is now. Someone says, how many secular Jews, like live in your neighborhood or you're friends with? I was like, nobody. It's a religious area. Some more, some less. But it's all a religious area. They're like, you're so closed-minded. And what I should have said, and the answer really is, okay, how many Orthodox Jews you live in, are you going to live in their neighborhood? They're not going to live in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, secular Jew. They don't want to. They don't want so many kids around. They don't want the mess. They don't want to be told what to do. Next thing you know, they'll be shaving their heads. How many secular Jews are going to live in Orthodox Jewish areas? Nobody. Nobody. In a lot of places, especially in this country, made it impossible for Orthodox Jews to move. I was reading something earlier, right, about that. They make, big high risers. So it's like, so on Shabbos, you have to walk up a, humongous amount of steps. They don't make a sukkah porch, right? Some buildings, you don't have a sukkah porch, you can't make a sukkah. They don't want Orthodox Jews moving in. Yeah, isn't that discrimination? Oh, we call it discrimination, right? So a secular person says, or even better, a secular Jew says, oh, you don't hang out with, secular Jews, you only live amongst your own. You know what the answer is? You also live amongst your own. That's not a question. You live among people who think like you. You're not going to live among people that think like me. That's the bottom line. You're never going to do it. Why not? I don't want to be contaminated. He gets cooties, spiritual cooties, or whatever. You're going to try and brainwash me and my kids. They don't want any part of it. But they'll make you look bad as they say you don't even have any secular Jews in your community. You hang out with your own kind. And where do you live? Do you live amongst Orthodox Jews? Would you live amongst Orthodox Jews? In a community? Never. Never happened. If there's some that moved in or lived nearby, one thing. Are you going to a black hat community to move? No. Never going to happen. They don't want it. So why should they expect from us that, that we should live among secular Jews? In most places, you got secular Jews and and non-Jews all around. You're not totally insular. You do have places that are mostly Orthodox Jews, in different places. Okay. But we're going to hang out with our own, bottom line. Somebody asks, how should a person relate to those people who do not care about the truth? Transgender in the workplace. This is a big problem. This is a big problem. Now, I've heard people tell me that if you don't acknowledge or do something or whatever, you are going to, you're going to lose your job. You could lose your job. Now, the question is, someone marries the same sex. This question comes up a lot. Are you allowed to chip in for a gift? Even as a non-Jew. Yeah? Even as a no-Hide. Are you allowed to go to the wedding? Now you're going to say, how can I not go to the wedding? Everyone's going to go. Yeah? Maybe you can fake you were sick. Or whatever. But if they know where you stand, they know where you stand. This is the hard thing. On the one hand, you don't want to lose your job, right? You got to work with these people, whatever. On the other hand, you can't antagonize them. Like you're homophobic, that would be kind of a problem. That would definitely be a problem. Very easily could lose your job because of that. So you got to be a little bit politically correct, but again, you have to be polite and like walking on eggshells. And if you're pushed in a corner, you say, listen, you choose to do what you want to do. Okay. That's your choice. That doesn't mean I have to like your choice. Now, I mean, you got to be diplomatic. This is a very volatile issue. Huge volatile issue. So I would say you got to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. Now, if they say, well, you have to acknowledge it, all right, de facto, you are the way you are. Okay? What they want, and this is a crazy thing in a certain way, what they want is absolute acceptance. No questions asked. They want acceptance. They want you to acknowledge and say it's okay. Well, there's a problem. It's not okay. Right? And someone told me, if you don't acknowledge it, this and that, certainly in the States, you lose your job. You can lose your job. Okay. So I said, what happened to freedom of speech? We just saw that by college campuses, freedom of speech gone crazy. Yeah. So what happened to, freedom of religion? Separates the church and state, in America. No, that's out the window. I'm like, what do you mean it's out the window? I don't have a right. And a Bible thumping Christian are going to be in the same category. They can't acknowledge that, according to them. They also have to come out and say it's wrong. Now, again, do you have to be vocal about it? No. I would be under the radar as much as possible. Meaning, like, it shouldn't be discussed. You don't get in any discussion. You just, whatever. You do what you need to do. You mind your own business. Sometimes, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you may have no choice. You may be drawn into it. Someone may call you on it. Right? So then what do you do? So, you have to be diplomatic. Right? You have to be diplomatic. I would say at the same time, you have to say, okay, you made a choice. That's your choice. That's it. Now, you're not discriminating against them. You're just not patting them on the back, giving them a big hug and say, I'm here for you. I think it's a great thing what you're doing. That you can't do. That is forbidden. Chipping in for a gift for one of these things is forbidden. Going to their wedding, forbidden. It's forbidden. What are you going to do? You can say, but everyone's going to go, It could cause problems. You're right. Could ruffle a lot of feathers. You're right. Workplace is got a lot of problems. This is one of them. Right? But another issue is men and women working together. It's also a problem. Got to have boundaries. I know a woman, will never call anyone, outside of her husband by their first name, male. They'll say Mr. So-and-so, Rabbi so-and-so, whatever it is, will never call a man outside of her husband by their first name. Now, in the workplace, that's going to be kind of hard, right? That's going to be hard to, to implement. But you have to put in boundaries. 100%, you have to have boundaries. And if you don't have boundaries, there's certain things you may have to do you don't want to do. Rabbi of mine once told me his brother worked for this company, had to go to the December 25th party. Had to go. Had to show his face. See people, person had to go, had no choice. Okay. But everybody knew. He doesn't drink anything there except soda. That's it. He'll have his Coke, give a schmooze, be there for 20 minutes, half an hour, and he leaves. Isn't it problematic to go to such a thing? Yeah. Doesn't really mean much today, whatever, but you're in an atmosphere, socializing, this and that. It's a problem. It's full of problems. Person can have the best marriage, full of problems. And a lot of these, a lot of things happen, improprieties happen when you're drinking. When you're under the influence, you don't have as many inhibitions. Even the best of people can happen. They're going to have boundaries. They have a serious set of boundaries. The men and women issue, we're not even talking transgender. The men-women issue, the dynamics in the workplace is a huge topic. A lot of things. So what do you do if you have to work with someone of the opposite sex in a project? You got this project, got to work together. Okay. But you want to make sure you don't get too chummy. Now, you might not get away with not being on a first name basis. Okay. Right? That you might not get away with. You got to set up boundaries. Seriously set up boundaries. Because if not, a person can fall. And it's not a person who's necessarily in need or the spouse isn't taking care of them and this and that. Things can happen. Let's say you have kids that are married. Person has kids that are married. So son-in-laws, how do they interact with sister-in-laws? Yeah, you gotta be careful. I'm not saying you don't interact with them. But Hasidim is a whole different thing. It's like, they're pretty much separate. They'll eat in separate rooms or whatever. But among everybody else, okay, you gotta be careful. How close you get, whatever, so to speak. But you gotta speak to them. You gotta have, can't ignore them, per se. So they have to be boundaries also to a certain extent. The person say, come on, it's far-fetched. This is far-fetched. Really think something happens between brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws? Yeah, it can happen. It has happened. I'm not going to say it can happen. It has happened. So therefore, you're going to be careful. These are real life situations. So, men and women issues are one thing that you have to be careful of. So this is a whole different beast. No pun intended. This is a whole different beast over here. Right? And the reason is because never seen anything in the history of man. Never. Someone who's doing deviant behavior. Certainly according to the Bible, it's deviant behavior. People can call it whatever they want today. But it has been said by many a person that either are gay, transgender, whatever they are, and they say about themselves, a number of them, I don't know what the stat is, a number of them say they wish they were normal. They wish they were heterosexual. That's what they wish, but they're not. So now, what do they have to do? So they need a much stronger pat in the back. They need to show, and they have a whole group behind them and this and that. They have a whole movement to be able to tell the world what they're doing is okay. Can you imagine? You imagine if all the adulterers in the world, women, men, doesn't really matter, they all had their own parades. Parading around about what they've done. Pedophiles, thieves. Yeah? Imagine if they had their own groups and they're trying to justify what they've done. That's insane. That is insane. Why should this be okay? We have a right to freedom of expression. Why this? Of all things. Because it's so far against the norm. It is so far against the norm, they want justification. And they want everyone to pat them on the back and say, okay. And you have to say it's okay. There's a problem. I got in trouble a number of times. I mean, you can't imagine I got in trouble, I'm sure. But I got in trouble a number of times by saying that intermarriage is wrong. Call the racist, anti-non-Jews, all kinds of things. My answer was the same. You go according to what God says. I didn't even mention rabbinic law, this, that. The Torah says many times you're not allowed to intermarry. So I'll tell everybody the same thing. What does that mean? I had somebody argue with me, and I said, okay, according to the Torah, you want to say it's only that generation? You want to say it's only the generation went into Israel and they conquered the 7 nations? I'm open to suggestions. Torah says many, many times you're not allowed to intermarry. So I said, even if you tell me the Bible's written by man, I'll grant you that. I'll give you that. Let's say It's written by man. So what did these men mean? They're anti-non-Jew? They're racist? Both? Person said, we're not having this discussion. I said, why not? I just, give me a source. Show me something. Because they knew I had them. They knew I had them. Yeah, so let's say we can agree to disagree. It's not about agreeing to disagree. The Torah says, I can't believe in it. It's sorry. Torah says that it's a terrible thing. Can't do it. It's a Torah prohibition. Karaites will be happy. They'll be singing and dancing. Karaites will say, look, it didn't quote any rabbinic source. Very good. The Torah says clear. You say, where's transgender in the Torah? Torah says a man cannot wear women's clothing and vice versa. Forget about doing sex changes and other things. Not even going there. That's a Torah prohibition. Now, the question is how far that goes. Right? With other things. Right? But I'm not even going to go into the other thing. I'm just talking about this. Cross-dresser forbidden. Man cannot dress as a woman. Torah prohibition. Nothing to talk about. Women can't dress as a man. Same thing. So the question is what carries over and what are the other ramifications? But that's not the point. Yeah. So I said, if I believe in God and I believe in what the Torah says, then the Torah says what you're doing is wrong. Now you can say we have an image problem, we discriminate against women, we discriminate against non-Jews, we're anti-pig, we're anti all kinds of things. Okay. But if I believe in what God says and this is what the Torah says, then you got a problem with God, not with me. And it's not even my interpretation. This is what the Torah says, literally. You're going to say, how do you know when to take the Torah literally or not? Okay, we can have a discussion on that. They're not going to ask that. Right? They're not going to ask that. So this is the problem. This is the problem. Now, can you be politically correct in this? No. You don't have to ram it down their throat. I agree. But, someone says, really, what do you think? What do you really think? So you have to say, the Torah says, forbidden. You want to do it? Okay. You're not going to say you liable for death penalty, this, that. Okay. That's your choice. We all make choices. Good choices, bad choices. That's how far it goes. Now, they could get very testy. The Bible says the Bible. All right. You want to go according to if the Torah is true or not? You want to go tit for tat? We'll have a discussion. Why I believe the Torah is true? God said you can't do it. I believe what God says. It's not a personal thing. You want to do that to yourself. It's your choice. But see, it doesn't end there. And this is the point. Why doesn't it end there? Because they want acceptance. And they know the only people in the world who hold according to the Bible are going to say it's not acceptable. They don't want to hear that. Everyone else in the world, 99% of the world will say nothing wrong with it. You want to do it? Because they do it. They know any Bible thumper, Christian or Jew, right? Any Bible thumper will say it's forbidden. Right? Or the Muslims also say it's forbidden. Yeah. They want acceptance. You can't accept it. Now, say you're discriminating, you've offended me. It's not personal. I thought the people that are intermarried, but they don't see it that way. You're just going to axe the grind. Yeah, I hate intermarriage. Okay, but the Torah says it's forbidden. What do you want me to do? Your kids aren't Jewish. They can think they're Jewish, think whatever they want. We don't go according to patrilineal descent. Yeah. You can say it's not fair. It's not, okay, whatever. My kids never did anything wrong. You're right, they didn't. It's your problem. You married a non-Jew. They don't want to hear that either. Nice slap upside the head. Yeah. Okay. You got to take responsibility for your actions. People don't like that. The cop would say, be honest. You want me to say something I can't say. You don't like the fact that the Torah says forbidden. Okay. You don't like it. What are things I don't like? Doesn't matter. God said it. I have to keep it to the best of my ability. Now, this gets feisty because people get offended. And you got to really try and smooth it over and say that this is not about trying to offend anyone. in my personal belief, this is what God says. I follow what God says to the best of my ability. You made a choice, okay? This is your choice. You got to live with your choice. This is what you got to do. You want me to accept it? You can't expect me to accept it. And there are people out there, they're nuts. They make fun of what you do all the time, and I have to accept their stupidity. What do I have to accept their stupidity for? Why in the world? I got a PhD, for goodness sake. I have to accept what you have to say. You got to be nice. You got to be respectful. Yeah, but you're arguing probably in different worlds. So you can relate to them, but you gotta be very careful, because I guarantee they are going to be offended. They want you to accept it. That's what they want. So how can you accept something, an action that's abominable? God says it's abominable, not the person, the act. So you got to do the best of your ability to explain to them it's not personal. You made that choice, okay. You got to see that I'm going to disagree. But that's your personal choice, okay. See, there's certain things, even intellectually, if they know, it's not rational. Totally not rational. It's not about live and let live, and then they're going to say blaspheme against God, blaspheme against the Bible, and all this and all. You can't worry about that. You can't worry about it, but that's the reality, right? Most people went off the derech that were religious and are not religious. Probably watch a lot of TV, listen to secular music, go to the wrong places. Yeah. There's a strong pull. Secular world is a very strong pull. The problem is, when a person gets sucked into that and then they see it's meaningless, they feel like they burnt, they burnt their bridges. Right? In other words, coming back to the Jewish community, they're like ostracized because of the way they dress and what they do. And now they see the secular world's not everything that's cut out to be. Yeah, and they wasted a lot of time, and they see it's meaningless and all that. Okay, now they're stuck. They can always come back. It's very hard for them to come back. Embarrassing for them to come back. Also, but doesn't mean, they can't come back. But they're, if you're being indoctrinated from a very young age about all these crazy ideas, how in the world are you going to be normal? I would say anyone who goes to university today, and I said that, when I went, and you come out normal, meaning at least as moral, if not more moral when you came out, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. You're going to be exposed to so many things that are foreign. To Torah and Mitzvah. You get sucked in. Plenty of modern Orthodox Jews send their kids to Ivy League schools, right? Top schools in America, top universities. They said they're glad they sent their kids there, but they're not happy how the kids came out. Why? Because they see their Judaism is much weaker. Much weaker. They don't come out strong. I heard a great rabbi once say, I send my kids to university if they come out, as moral or more moral than when they went in. That's never going to happen. Certainly not today. Nothing talking about. He's talking about this 20 years ago, more. I mean, listen, when I went to university, it wasn't a bastion of morality by any stretch. By any stretch. Today is a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. But what are people going to see? What are people going to see? They're going to see, they want to give in to their base desires. That's what they want. They want to enjoy life, as we said before. They're not interested in thinking about other things. They just want to enjoy life. They want to numb themselves. They want to kick back and sip pina coladas when their sports team wins or not or whatever. Okay. You want to spend all day learning these ancient texts. Okay, that's what you enjoy. This is what I enjoy. Someone once told me, said, oh, you like to pray all day, I like to play golf. You know how untrue that statement is? I pray all day? No. 40 minutes, 45 minutes in the morning, maybe a little bit longer. 15 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes at night. That's not all day, it's about an hour and a half. And you like to play golf? You want to equate playing golf to prayer, to Torah? Come on. Say, oh, you like to do this? I like to do that. Really? You like chocolate? I like vanilla. How are you going to explain someone that likes vanilla and chocolate's better? They have to see the chocolate's better. Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. Someone may have mentioned a group of at least one homosexual member. Sure, no one thinks Judaism is discriminatory. Says any pork is against Judaism, those homosexuality. So, right, we don't eat people or trade them badly because they eat pork. Right? The problem is, again, they're pushing their values on society. They'll say, we're doing the same thing. We're doing what we need to do in our own community. Yeah, there are people out there doing outreach or whatever, as well. Yeah, but someone says, okay, the marriage is a Jewish concept, it's a strict definition, doesn't apply to homosexuals. That's not marriage. Right? You're right, that's not marriage. Right? We don't bother you, you don't want bothering us. Again, it gets very touchy though. Because you're arguing in different planes. They're never going to see in a million years that our premise of the Torah is true. They're never going to see that. You're right. You're going to say, maybe the Torah is anti-pig, maybe. We're anti-non-Jews, right? We're anti-homosexuals. We're anti all kinds of things. Okay. It doesn't mean the Torah is not true. Right? That, doesn't mean the Torah is not true, but they're not going to buy the argument. They're not going to buy the argument. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It helps in saying, we're not against the person. We don't hate the person. You're not allowed to hate the person. We hate what they do. Right? We don't like what they do. It goes against what God says. They have to, then the argument is, who says God's right? Who says the Torah is true? Who says there's a God? Okay, then that's a springboard for another discussion. That is definitely a springboard for another discussion. But the reality is you're not going to win the argument. I'll tell you why. Because they don't respect it. You're talking in different planes. If you're not talking on the same plane, they can hear intellectually. Intellectually. It's not a personal thing. I'm not against you personally. But the Torah says, I believe in the Torah. And we don't believe in it. We believe it's wrong. Right? We believe it's wrong. If you're honest, say it's disgusting, it's causing people to go off, and yeah, that's a different issue. Can't be totally honest. Because you'll totally offend them. I'm saying, even if you're very nice as pie, and just tell them, well, God says someone eats pork. You can't eat pork. You can't do these other things. Right? You have to use the argument basically saying that, I believe in the God of Israel. God of Israel says, can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other thing. And you're allowed to do this and you're allowed to do that. This is one of the prohibitions. But again, it's not personal. God doesn't say you hate the person. Right? So you're going to say, oh, so the God of Israel is homophobic and and it's not going to end good. But yeah, you have to say that it's, you have to make clear you're looking out for their best interest. It's not personal. But see, the problem is that this is who they are. This is what they represent. And the whole world, except for you and a bunch of Bible thumpers, think what they do is okay. And they acknowledge what they do. So what does that do? That burns inside them that you won't. Same thing. Might be a little bit of a jump, but it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. You look at the Book of Esther. Haman's got more money. He's got billions of dollars, got a lot of power, consolidating the power. Right? And difference of opinion whether he made himself an idol or not or whatever. He walked in a room, everyone bowed down. Right? It was a new, idolatrous thing. Right? He walked in the room, everyone's on the floor. Everyone bows. Walks out of the room, goes back in the room, everyone bows. Everyone's on the floor. People hated him for this. Because he was so arrogant. He walks outside and he sees Mordecai sitting by the gate. He doesn't bow down to him. Nothing. Doesn't even acknowledge him. Yeah. So he's so angry. He wants to kill him and everyone and all his people. It's one thing you want to kill him, okay. So people, why does he get so angry? Because he knows the truth. That's the problem. He knows the truth. He's got power. He's got consolidated power. He's got all his kids in different places. He's got money. He's got unbelievable amount of money. Unbelievable amount of money and power. One guy, one old Jew will not bow down. Okay, so what? So he won't bow. Move on. Get on with life. You get so many other things going for you. Why are you worrying about this old Jew? Why is he worried? Because he knows what the truth is. They also know what the truth is. Now, some of them will say, this is normal. This is a normal way of life. Now, you could say, normal way of life is a husband and wife. That's normal. Marriage is normal. You're going to say, what makes that normal? So again, you're going back to the source. The Torah says. Torah makes it normal. This is outside the norm. This is not what God wants. Totally not what God wants. And if people would change and this and that, guess what? You wouldn't have a next generation if everyone would act that way. But again, it doesn't matter. The only argument that makes sense, I would say, is the fact that we believe in the Torah. We believe in the Bible. God says you can't do it. Again, you got to make clear that it's not a personal thing. You could say, wow, the Torah's anti-pagan. We'll say Torah is this and that. Okay, you don't hate the person. We don't hate the person. We don't like what they do, but okay. It's their choice. So you want to make a choice, fine. It goes against what the God of Israel says. I hold what the God of Israel says. So you make the following conclusion. We think it's wrong. I'm telling you, it's not going to go over well. I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, I can think of other ways maybe, but I think that's the best way to do it. I don't think you're going to make this person a friend. They're not going to be your best buddy here. Because you totally offended them. You're totally calling them out saying it's wrong. And you're saying, well, God says it's wrong. Then the person will say, oh, you think God's going to strike me down? Okay, listen, there's reward and punishment. You get reward for doing the right thing. You get punished for doing the wrong thing. This argument never ends good. I can tell you by intermarriage, it doesn't end good. By this, also won't end good. Because it's not a personal attack. It's just that's the reality. But then someone will say, but it has nothing to do with my kids. You have to have what to do with your kids aren't Jewish. It's a different issue. I have an obligation to educate my kids. I can't say that they're Jewish. They're not. You have to understand it. It's not right. It's not personal. It's not a personal attack. Not a personal vendetta. You can say God is anti-non-Jews. Okay, you could say it. And God is anti-pork and God's okay. Yeah, it's not personal. You got to explain to people it's not personal. But I don't think it's gonna help. I think they're so into it, they want acknowledgement. Nothing less than acknowledgement. You have to say it's okay. If you can't say it's okay, even if you say it's not personal, it's not enough. Right? That's what I would say. Now, if you find someone that can accept that, okay. They're a much bigger person. I don't think most people are going to accept it. That's what I think. Someone here said the person who's transgender and gay wants to stop that lifestyle. How can we help them? I would say like this. People think, and it's not true. It's definitely not true. But people think, someone's homosexual cannot be helped. There are psychologists that can help people. They want to get help. There are people that can help people. What can we do personally? I don't know if there's very much we can do. I think people are so entrenched, in this idea and being about, so open-minded. I mean, in America, there's a huge split between, Democrats and Republicans, the leftists and people more conservative. I don't think the Republicans are that much better. I'm not a Republican at all, but I would tell you, I don't think that's, I'm not going to get into politics here, but I don't think they're necessarily, so much better. I think they hold more values that are closer to Judaism. Then certainly the Democrats, I don't think there's anything to talk about that, but they're also pretty far off also, right? On many things, on many things. So I'll tell you the truth. If someone's looking for help, can you reach out and try and help them? Yeah. If they're not looking for help, I would say don't get involved. I don't think anything good comes from it. There's nothing good going to come from it. You're not going to be able to change them. Should you engage them, try to change them? I think it's a waste of time. I think it's a total waste of time. They have to be searching. They have to want. Most people, they're so entrenched. They'll say the same thing about us, but no, we're not claiming to be open-minded, right? I tell people that all the time, and they'll agree. So you're for sure not open-minded, right? Never claimed to be, right? But the Torah is true. It's true. There's certain things you can't do. So, reaching out to them, trying to help them, they don't want help. They don't think they need help. They think you need help. They think you need help. Yeah. Those who are homosexual, some of the energy on them is causing this behavior. Some will say, and it hasn't been proven, and it definitely hasn't been proven. Some people will say it's genetic. There's a gene that does it. Well, I got a lot of bad genes, I can tell you. A lot of bad genes. So what? Let's say it is genetic. That means you have a bias. That means you have a certain bias other people don't, because you have that gene. Okay. So even if you have that bias, does God want you to act on it? No. But you're going to say, oh, but he gave me this. And I have more of a bias of this than other people. Very true. So what? And you have more of a bias because of your DNA, to steal, or to do other things. Does God want you to act on it? No. But you're going to say, but it's part of my DNA. It's hard to fight, right? Also true. Doesn't mean you should act on it, right? There's something going on. People have been rejected. You can have someone who, let's say, rejected by the opposite sex in many ways. So they decide, what's the point? No one's ever going to want me for who I am, so I'll be like everyone. I'll be like the other side. I know it's happened to a religious girl. Certain things happened, and she'd rather be like a guy than a girl. I mean, there are a lot of potential reasons. Yeah. I would tell you, though, a lot of people probably wish they didn't have it. It's not the norm. They understand it's not the norm. But they're trying to push an agenda telling you it is. So, if a person knows someone like this and they're really not functioning and this and that, yeah, you can try and reach out to them. But most people, they don't think they need to be reached out to. They'll say, live and let live. Okay, you don't like it, so what? Yeah. I know someone as a kid, this is many, many years ago, said to someone they knew they were gay, they're like, why don't you like women? Something like being blonde, right? Like, why are you attracted to men? The person didn't give an answer. Another question, I've heard somebody say, wow, this kid was playing with dolls since he was 3 years old. What do you expect? No, that's heresy. So what if he's playing with dolls? You're telling me he's a female in a male body? That's heresy. Right? This person will say, yeah, the other Orthodox will say, this is a problem or whatever. No, it is a problem. That's heresy. That's heresy. Oh, he's born that way. No, he's born that way. People have certain dispositions. People, they're people because of the way they were brought up and the way they were born. Yeah, they got certain DNA, right? Someone's parents are alcoholic, or at least one parent's an alcoholic. Isn't there a good percentage of those kids that will end up being alcoholics or potential alcoholics? Sure. It's because of what they saw. It's part of their DNA. Now, does that mean they should act on it? No. But even if a person has certain things that they're attracted to, whatever it may be, because their DNA does not mean they should act on it. So it's a test like anything else. People have a giving charity. They don't want to help other people. Yeah, people have anger issues. People have being conceited issues. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of things that we have biases towards. Either we did it to ourselves or we're born that way. So if you're born that way, how can God punish you? It's a whole big discussion we're not going to get into. But the point is, God gave you things to work on. Some people have this more, some people have this less. Right? I'm not saying that you did it to yourself. You could be born that way. But even if you're born that way, who says you should do it? You just have more of a bias. Okay. So I had a doctor once say, it's genetic. I said, and if it is, they can't fight it. It's impossible to fight. I had someone tell me, this person is gay and that's the way he was born. Like slamming it down my throat. That's the way he was born, blah, blah, blah. I said, science hasn't proven it. And that's the way he was born. So I said, but science hasn't proven it. Bring me evidence in science that's true. There's no evidence. That shut them up straight away. Well, it doesn't really matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. They're acting on whatever their desire told them to act on. Okay. But it has not been proven scientifically that that's who they are. And even if scientifically they could say they isolated some sort of gene, okay, we got a lot of bad genes. Who says you should act on it? Do you have more of a bias, more of a disposition? Yes. You have more of a disposition. Okay. Does God want you to act on it? No. But he gives people different challenges. For some people, that's their challenge. Yeah. But I think today the culture is so strong. It's like a person has a recessive gene. It's like all of a sudden it got activated because of what they see around them. The culture, is unbelievably strong. Very, very strong. To the point they're trying to indoctrinate little kids. That's insanity. Yeah. So you want to tell me how many percentage of kids that are exposed to this end up that way? And even tell me it's 10%, 15%, 20%, that's way too, that's way too high. Should never be that high. Right? Then people experiment. When you're a kid, you experiment with things. Something that's forbidden or taboo. Okay, let's see what it is. Let me check it out. And then it ruins it. So, I think it's more of a cultural thing than anything else. But again, even if someone would be wired in a certain way, it doesn't matter. The only thing that tells you is that you have more of a disposition to that than other things. Okay. At the end of the day, does God want you to act on any of these things? No. Yeah, he doesn't want you to act on any of these things in either way. Someone asked, can non-Jews read from the Sefer Torah in the synagogue? Nope. Not allowed. Right? Only Jews allowed to read from a Sefer Torah, not non-Jews. Yeah, one of the best jobs for Orthodox Jews. Can't tell you. I don't know. I would tell you the most, the best jobs, and they're not easy to find, are where you can work around your schedule and learn as much Torah as possible, work as little as possible, but maximize money. That's not always easy to find. A lot of times not easy to find. Right? Not easy to find. Right? So I can't answer. I know someone told me a story of somebody studied for years and years to be a surgeon. Yeah, I don't think for everybody, but someone studied for years and years to be a surgeon. Why? A, because they can make a lot of money, and they can maximize their time to learn. Because you can go a few days without doing surgery or whatever, and still make plenty of money. So, person has to find something, And again, I'm not saying I have any good ideas, per se. Finding a niche or finding something where they can maximize the amount of money that they make with fewer hours. It's hard to find. Most people, I would say today, a lot of people are, living paycheck to paycheck. Unless you get involved in real estate, something like that, or in financial, industry or something where you can maximize a lot more. Yeah. So that's, let's say, real estate in general, is a field that if you know what you're doing, it can be very lucrative. Doesn't mean you don't have to put in the hours, but you know, you don't, when I learned how to, find undervalued deals and this and that, I still, learned 3.5 hours in the morning, before, I took any phone calls or anything else, and, it had the potential, even though the market crashed in 2008, but, pretty much finding these properties and different things, you do it in any market, undervalued properties. Essentially you can do it in any market, but, doesn't mean you have to do it. You have to do it all day long. There are ways to do it. There are ways, there are ways to, to do it and maximize. So, it depends. It depends what it is. Are souls genderless? Oh, guys ask me good questions. Usually souls are male or female. They're not normally genderless. There is a question, again, it's above my pay grade, right? But, there is a question, what happens? How does a Jewish soul become non-Jewish? How does it switch? How does the male soul become female? Yeah, this is Kabbalah how it works. How it works. Gender is not normally. As far as I understand, it's either gonna be male or female. As far as I understand. Someone asks, I think it's a good phrase to use, a person may be gay, transsexual, but it's not who you are. Yeah. There's a problem with that also. I'll tell you what the problem is, because when you first meet someone, what's one of the first questions you ask? You're gonna ask, where are you from and what do you do? What do you mean, what do you do? What do you do means how much money do you make? Right? Essentially. Now, even if you don't ask how much money they make, which people aren't gonna ask that straight out, per se, but what about the fact that a person can say, I'm not defined by what I work, by what I do. What I do is what helps me make money. But that's not who I am. That is not who I am. Right? I think most people would agree. I work in the financial district. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm this. I'm that. But does that define who I am? Does that say who I am? No. Does not say who I am. Right? You could use that again. I don't think it's going to be a good argument either. Only because they are going to say, this is who I am. This is how I define myself. Right? That's what they're going to say. I'm not saying it's right. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, this is who I am. So your gender is who you are. Again, you could use the argument, it's your job who you are. Right? I think that's a good argument. Nobody defines themselves by their job. Right? I wish you get blackballed or something like that. Right? Somebody like me, they'll say, oh, look, scamming all, scamming off and non-Jews. I'm like, what do you mean? I love non-Jews. I said, except the ones maybe in my own family, but it's not their fault. Yeah. I had someone say, I can really help you get a real job, right? Find me a normal job. I'm like, well, I'm good at this. I like what I do. Yeah, no pun intended. But, does that define who I am? I think to a good part it does, right? Because, yeah, I want to help other people. I want to give over whatever I have to give over, et cetera. I think also makes up for the fact what I went through, when I was younger, what my family's gone through and different things. So yeah, people have passions. People have what they live for. So yeah, that can define who they are. But they'll say that's who I am. I don't know if that's a good argument, right? Because that's what they're going to answer. They're going to answer beyond the shadow of a doubt. This is who I am. I don't respond to circumstances that, is what counts. So I would say, people are going to give different answers. What's the most important thing? People will say the most important to me is family. Okay. When I get together with my kids and I do this, and I go around and, whatever. Okay. But does that define who you are? No, there are other things that count also. Okay, like, they might be hard pressed. Well, having a good time. going out with friends, seeing a nice movie, going to a ball game. The Torah defines what we need to do. The Torah tells us beyond the shadow of a doubt, we got to draw close to God. That's what we got to do. That's our obligation. Anything short of that, is a waste of time. We have to do either we're going in the right direction, we're going close to God, or we're going far away. There's nothing in between. Either you're going up or you're going down. So God says, I want you to be close to me. So God says, very good. How are you supposed to do that? I got a book. I manufacture it itself. Pass it down to Moses. Moses pass it down to us. Yeah, so I got to tap in. Right. I remember someone once asked me, again, this is part of the question also, what do you do for hobbies? I was like, I don't have any hobbies. Like, no, like, what do what do you do for fun? I said, I learn. That's the most enjoyable thing. Nothing more enjoyable than that. Like, you don't do anything else? Do you ever go like hiking? No. Do you ever do this? No. There are people that like to do things. Go in the outdoors and go hiking and, whatever. Okay. Does that define who we are? Right? What, is this person has to ask themselves at all times, is this helping me get close to God or not? That's the question. Is it drawing me close or not? If it's not drawing me close, then I have to ask, okay, is it taking me away? Is it something that could have a negative effect? So if it's got a negative effect, okay. Yeah. Got a negative effect. So anything's going to have a negative effect, take me away from God and Torah and mitzvah is bad, by definition. Right? So anytime I have a question of doing something, if I have even a question that's not going to be good for my soul, you shouldn't do it. Or if you have a question, then you have to ask someone. You have to ask, go to Orthodox rabbi, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? You have to get advice. Because otherwise you go down the wrong path. Right? Again, the evil inclination can make it seem like you're doing this, oh, it's such a great thing, this and that, but it's really bad for you. It's really going to have a negative effect. You just don't see the repercussions. You don't see how far it goes. How's an Orthodox Jew keep physically fit? Yeah, you can walk 3 times synagogue, but what if synagogue is only 2 minutes away? Walking is good. I think exercise in general, person, I'm not saying that they have to go to a gym, person got an exercise machine, person, what else should they do? I don't know, different things you can do, even capacity of your own house. Calisthenics, push-ups, other things. You want to go, power walks, different things, you can do that. Person can have an exercise machine, do like an elliptical machine, exercise. Exercise is important. You got to find time to do it. Definitely have to find time to do it. Walking, what some people do is, let's say they have a 5-minute walk to synagogue, but if they walk in different directions, take them 15 minutes. Right? So the weather is good. So, person can take the 15-minute walk instead of 5-minute walk. That'll give you more exercise. Right? It depends how far it is. Right? How close it is. If a person can drive there, be there in 2 minutes, or you can walk, it'll take you 20 minutes. Better to walk. The weather's good. Right? Exercise sometimes, some communities, like a 4-letter word. And you got to keep the body going around. You got to keep the body healthy. The body healthy keeps the soul healthy. Sometimes, what about learning martial arts? Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Person wants to learn martial arts. Right? It's not idolatry. That's good. It's also good. Keeps the body fit as well. Anything as long as it's not idolatry keeps the body fit. It's good. You just got to make sure, make it into idolatry. 3-4 times a week, half an hour, 45 minutes, get the endorphins going is good. Is definitely good. Say that, I gotta get back to it also. They're gonna say, Rabbi, when in your schedule you do it? 4:30 in the morning. That's the only time. Usually 5 o'clock. I've had trouble getting up recently. So whatever, gotta get back to that. I've been lazy. been lazy, but you know, 3-4 times a week is what my doctor says. Good thing. You know, when I can get up and do it. That's the only time I have. Right. So a person got to find the time. Right. I definitely feel better when I exercise. You know, eating healthy is also good, but you know, who says you can have a piece of cake here and there or whatever? Well, I mean, you can't, you know, enjoy. You got to be careful though. You know, the older you get, the harder it is to take off weight. So, and the healthier a person is, again, it's not a guarantee for long life. Helps. It's not, you know, it's not a guarantee, but you know, if the body's healthy, keep the body healthy, keeps the mind healthy, keeps the soul healthy, you know, as well. So, as long as it's not something forbidden, you know, almost any type of exercise is good. Yeah, as long as it's not idolatry or anything else. Yeah. Any other questions? Um, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, someone asked, sorry, I missed this. What do you do about exercise? Can we go to the gym as women? They go fully covered up? Yeah. I mean, if it's a mixed gym, I would say it's more problematic for a guy for sure. You know, if you can't go to a, you know, a separate gym, you know, if you can't go to a separate gym, then yeah. You know, I guess if you're all covered up, I would say it's a problem though. Not the best solution, but even if you're all covered up, definitely better. Definitely better. A male going to a mixed gym is more problematic. Even if he's all covered up, doesn't matter. Most women aren't, so that's a problem. Unless you can go to a gym that has, you know, separate facilities, that's better. That's for sure better. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I just every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, Q&As, Torah Portion of the Week, even though I'm behind a few weeks. Book of Leviticus, controversial issues. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com. RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, which I'm in a good beginning of the day, middle of the